the Sportsocracy.
These guys are a f***ing disgrace.
It is ESPN Asheville. This is the Sportsocracy, and Lamar Jackson could be headed out of Baltimore. He is demanding a trade since they're not going to pay him. It's obvious that he's not getting the money that he wants. No one else has come forward so far in the negotiating period to offer him what he wants, and now he's feeling disrespected, and he wants to go home.
Yep. And today was the day that Mommy and Daddy yelled at each other at the dinner table. This is when it was over. So, I've already told you why Tennessee would do this. Now, it is Monday. Mondays are mock draft Mondays. And I feel like this is as good a reason as any to do a mock draft.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because let's just say, it's March. We got FAU and Miami in the Final Four. So we're not flush with things to talk about here. All right, so let's just say, just for argument's sake, say Tennessee comes to an agreement with Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
You'll pay him. We don't have to worry about it. And you go to Baltimore and say, we'll give you the 11th pick in this draft. We'll give you our first-round pick next year. That's the offer sheet amount. We don't have to play this game. You get what you get. I pay it. The headache goes away from you. Who says no? In that scenario, who says no?
No one.
There you go. Nobody says no. Nobody says no because it doesn't make sense. You're taking my headache. Now, if I'm Baltimore, I have number 11 and I have number 22. It's weird. There's a team at number 3 that really wants to trade out of there. And now you have 2 first-round picks to entice them to do so, which is exactly what they would do.
So Baltimore would trade up to 3 with the Arizona Cardinals.
They would give 11, 22, and 86. The thought to me that Tennessee was ever going to do, and this is one of those things that I hear so many things behind closed doors that don't make any sense. There's a fragment of truth to all of it. But it never made any sense to me. Why would a team with this old of a roster, why would they make this move? Why would you do that? Tennessee goes up there to get Anthony Richardson, who's probably not going to legitimately be ready to play for I'll be nice and say a year.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be nice and say a year. Unless he's in a system that's already completely earmarked for a quarterback just like this, which is exactly what the Baltimore Ravens are. Because at the net, what is Anthony Richardson? As a prospect, he's a bigger, arguably faster, bigger-armed version of Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
He's the same project. I've already seen us do this. Now I'll get him for 5 years, incredibly cheap. Carolina ain't taking him, okay? All of that smoke screen, that's not happening. C.J. Stroud and Josh McCown are already picking out houses in Charlotte. So that's how that's going to go. Stroud will go 1 to the Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young will go 2 to the Houston Texans. And then at 3, you got the little Baltimore Ravens here, who have a really good, talented roster and a bunch of players that haven't signed yet. Marcus Peters, Calais Campbell, all of those veteran players haven't signed anywhere yet. Is that not weird to you? Is that not a little strange? All of these talented players. Calais Campbell, I think he's gotten a stake from every team in the AFC. He hasn't signed anywhere yet. And why would that be?
So you think he's being told by Eric DeCosta?
I can't tell you he's being told. The Baltimore Ravens never get, they're like Baby in Dirty Dancing.
Mm-hmm.
They never get put in the corner. And I don't really feel like they're in it now. Because be honest with yourself. With Tyler Huntley and Anthony Richardson, how different do you feel about that roster right now than you would with Lamar Jackson? Drastically? Because I don't. I don't even love Anthony Richardson. And I don't feel drastically different about it.
Probably not drastically.
How do you feel about it for the next 5 years?
Drastically better.
There you go.
Drastically better with the young guy.
There you go.
The injuries to Lamar Jackson are the one thing that would give me hesitation, and obviously gives every other team hesitation about him. Why would I do this if you can't be healthy at the end of a season? It makes a lot of sense.
Doesn't it, though?
It makes a lot of sense. I just don't know that Arizona is the place that you gotta
get to for Anthony Richardson. Oh, you do.
You do?
You do. You got to get in front of Indianapolis. Because at the very least, if they're not interested in Anthony Richardson, they're really trying to make it sound like they are.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think that's a smokescreen because we are fully in the middle of lying season. I think Indianapolis has already made peace with we're going to get one of the running quarterbacks, whether it's Will Levis or Anthony Richardson. I don't care which one because I can make an offense around them the same way I did with Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia because they do the same thing. One of them is just much faster. That's really the biggest difference between the two of them. They both have cannons.
Mm-hmm.
Will Levis is, oddly enough, more accurate and has a better throwing motion. In Tennessee or in Baltimore, I don't really care. I've given him Nelson Aguilar to throw to. So, I mean, it's not like we're going to come out here and run the spread and throw it 55 times to begin with. That's the one offense I look at and go, it makes all of the things make sense.
All right, so your first 3 picks, C.J. Stroud to the Carolina Panthers, Bryce Young to the Houston Texans at 2. Number 3, a trade up for the Baltimore Ravens with the Arizona Cardinals. They'll give up 11 and 22 to get up to 3.
They also give up a pick in the third round.
Yeah.
Not that anybody
86,
cares.
I think he said.
Yeah, not that anybody cares.
And they'll get Anthony Richardson at 3. So now Indianapolis comes on the clock, and they'd obviously take Will Levis.
No doubt. And who walks away from this unhappy?
I don't know.
Fact or fiction, this is the first solution to all of this that you have seen that made any sense.
Yeah.
I got walked through this like a small child at about noon today. And at the end of it, I went, I don't think anybody's upset about this.
Mm-hmm. Which means it won't happen.
Exactly.
Because it makes the most sense in the world.
Because it makes so much sense that you just go, okay, so here's what will actually happen. Lamar will sit out the year for some stupid reason. Baltimore will play Tyler Snoop Huntley, who will have a grand total of 1,400 passing yards, and they'll go 4-13. And then somehow they'll wind up with Caleb Williams next year.
Right. The Atlanta Falcons make the deal for Lamar Jackson.
I just don't think anybody's unhappy about this. I really don't. Everybody gets exactly what they want.
My big question about Tennessee is, and I think Lisa Evansell put it in the comments earlier, so they've spent the offseason getting rid of all of the big ticket items.
Okay.
To clear cap space.
Tennessee?
I get it. Yeah.
Okay, who are those big ticket items? Be real honest about that.
We had Taylor Lewan.
Oh, a 40-year-old tackle who's hurt all the time. Oh, yeah, I don't know how they'll ever survive without him.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going. Robert Woods.
Dude from Georgia, the center. Well,
Ben Jones.
Ben Jones.
Who's actually older than Taylor Lewan and has drawn zero interest on the free agent market. He's been tied to the Jets for what feels like since about 9 seconds after he got cut.
Mm-hmm. Bud Dupree was a part of that.
Bud Dupree was awful.
Robert Woods.
Second verse, same as the first. Name me the player that – okay, so let me rephrase this. They've gotten rid of a lot of expensive pieces.
Mm-hmm.
But for why? But why did they do that? They could have restructured all this and kept this entire team together. Why'd you do that? Oh, because there might be a big ticket item that you're really interested in. And now you need to get Jeffrey Simmons extended because that changes the number on that deal.
Mm-hmm. You
need to redo Kevin Byard. So maybe you start floating. I mean, we're listening to trade offers. Nobody somehow ever sends one.
Okay.
But I did the same thing you did. Well, they tore the roster down.
Mm-hmm.
Did they, though? Or did they get rid of a lot of 35-year-olds that really are not
do they have
great?
anything to replace those guys? That's the question.
Now, I don't disagree with you on that.
Right, like Taylor Lewan, okay, he may be oft injured and may be, an older lineman in this league, but you're going to drop that off to dude off the practice squad? Like, what's your plan?
Well, it's ironic you asked that because with my little plan, they still have a pick. They have 2 picks on day 3 or on day 2, excuse me. Guess who they get with those 2? Darnell Wright, the offensive tackle out of Tennessee, and Jalen Hyatt. It's weird. That offense looks pretty dynamic now, doesn't it?
Not bad.
I mean, you don't have a left tackle. You're still looking at Nick Petit Frere or whatever you're planning on doing in front of him. but I have a quarterback. And that team could legitimately win that division. I still think Jacksonville's better.
I agree.
But that's going to be a tough offense to stop.
That would be. It would be. You are in the Sportsocracy. This is ESPN Asheville. First 4 picks of the draft, according to Flostradamus, Jeremy Greene, will be quarterbacks. The big surprise, the Baltimore Ravens making first the trade with Tennessee, getting the 11th pick in the draft, and they have their own at number 22, using both those picks to trade up to 3 with the Arizona Cardinals and taking Anthony Richardson to replace Lamar Jackson, who, again, goes to the Tennessee Titans. We'll pick up with the first non-quarterback pick of the mock draft coming up next here in the Sportsocracy. Is ESPN Asheville, 92.9 FM, 880 AM, and 1400. And, Lamar Jackson could be on the move as he demands the trade from the Baltimore Ravens today. That's just the big headline of the day.
Oh, no doubt.
We've already had our shake-up at the top of the mock draft. If you're just joining us, the Baltimore Ravens would trade Lamar to Tennessee, get the 11th pick in the draft, then use the 11th pick and their pick at 22 to move up to 3 with the Arizona Cardinals, and they will get Anthony Richardson, who is Lamar Jackson light.
No, he's actually Lamar Jackson on steroids. He's a very big version of Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, we just don't know if he can.
Oh, we don't know if he can throw.
do it
Guess
in
what?
the
We didn't know if Lamar could throw either.
It's true.
By the way, before you tell me I'm out of my mind, can I just tell you a little secret in the betting world? The number on Lamar Jackson's next team, because that's been on the board in Vegas forever.
Mm-hmm.
It got so much action today, they took it off the board. 80% of the tickets were on Tennessee. Tell me I'm wrong again.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you that's how this is going to go. I'm just taking empirical evidence and forming a hypothesis. And it just so happens to be one that makes a whole mess of sense.
So the Panthers had C.J. Stroud at 1. Bryce Young goes 2 to the Houston Texans. Baltimore gets Anthony Richardson at 3 after the number of trades that they made. And then the Indianapolis Colts get Will Levis at number 4. That brings the Seattle Seahawks onto the board here, and they have their choice of what generational defensive player do they want.
Well, it's okay. Can we stop throwing the word generational around all willy-nilly?
There's 2 of them.
But generational, are they generational? They're very good.
They could be.
One of them is much safer than the other.
They have the potential to be.
Here's what I'm going to say. If this draft went this way, I don't know who turns in cards for the Seattle Seahawks, but whoever it is, you would see them high step Deion Sanders style to the podium to say Will Anderson's name.
Absolutely.
And they may not even give you a card. They might just say, let me say it. I want to say it. Just give me a mic. I want to make sure you don't mess it up. Because they would be the happiest team in the history of the NFL draft.
A guy who in many years could be the number 1 pick in the draft, but because we're quarterback crazy, you got to have those quarterbacks. He falls all the way to 5, and
no
Seattle
doubt.
is just there
and
to reap
he's
the
a
benefits.
Great pass rusher, and in the right system, I think he can be fantastic. There are some red flags where there were some penalties, there were some mental lapses, but that's really the biggest drawback. He's even good against the run. I mean, he's a 3 down, no doubt. I don't care if he stands up, puts his hand in the dirt. I don't care. I don't know that he's ever going to be either of the Bosas, which might be enough. That might be enough to make people think he's not as good as he should have been. And to me, that's a great fallacy. It really is, because I think he's going to be fantastic. I'm just not sure that he'll ever be the best pass rusher in the league, which is what people expect him to be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's been universally the number 1 player on the board, especially with Jalen Carter's issues. That's what makes me a little nervous. We have our first one of these of the day. Nope.
I'm your host.
There it is. It's from Gage. Should the Birds trade back and draft Bijan Robinson? I'm going to ask you to put a pin in that, and we'll come back to that momentarily. Apparently, Gage Camplin got my notes, and he knows something that other people don't.
The Birds. What birds?
Eagles.
They're a bunch of birds.
Talking about the Eagles.
Oh, talking about the Eagles. Okay.
Yep.
At number 6, it's the Detroit Lions.
And this is an ideal scenario for them. Jalen Carter's the best talent right here. He also doesn't fit anything Brad Holmes does. Brad Holmes does not deal with guys like this. It's not the culture. It would fly in the face of everything I've ever heard about Detroit. So I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
There is a landing spot for him that makes an infinite amount of sense if you'll just give me but just a minute. So at 6, the Detroit Lions take Tyree Wilson. I mean, look, this kid's a freak in nature. He's 6'6", ridiculously long wingspan. I think a lot of people don't value him to be as good as he is. He had one of the highest pass rush win rates in the country on a terrible defense where everybody knew he was the best player on it.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he can't tell, if he had been able to run at the combine, which he's got an injury and he's probably not going to be able to run at his pro day either.
Yeah, he's got a foot thing going on. He had to have a procedure done, and he is not participating in the pro day.
So he's definitively not. Okay, I had not seen that today.
Participating in the Texas Tech.
I've been down the rabbit hole too far today, so I had not seen that. If he had been able to run, I think he would have blown out the combine or the pro day, much like Nolan Smith did, and that wouldn't sound as weird as it does right here. That's my definitive take. I know Lions fans don't like it. You got to talk to your GM because your GM is the one that he doesn't take risks like this, especially not at 6 with a pick that is absolutely found money from a trade that worked out famously well for you.
Tyree Wilson to the Detroit Lions. Number 7, it's the Las Vegas Raiders.
Well, and Las Vegas is sitting here going, well, I really hope we like Jimmy Garoppolo because there's not another quarterback to be had.
Well, you signed him, so I hope you do.
To me, this wouldn't even be a debate. I think the Raiders would high step into the podium just as quickly as Seattle did to take Christian Gonzalez, cornerback out of Oregon. He's the best cornerback in this class. It's not really debatable. I mean, I've heard some arguments for Devin Witherspoon, and I like the tape, but then you get into the raw height, weight, speed, and scheme flexibility, and Christian Gonzalez is the best corner in this draft, and I don't really think it's all that close. And it fills a huge need for the Raiders.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't stop a nosebleed with a roll of paper towels at times last year. And this helps your pass rushers. One of the things that you have to think about when you start doing mock drafts, because originally I had the Raiders trading up to get Anthony Richardson because it is so loud how much they love him. And then I had to ask myself that question, why do I know that? Why does everybody I talk to tell me that? Because virtually every year when I hear things like that from everybody, they don't pan out. Because it's a smokescreen. The Raiders think they are good and competitive right now. They think this roster is playoff good right now. So why would I take a quarterback that is probably not going to be ready for a year, especially with the weapons I have around him, because nothing we have panders into how he plays. Him or Will Levis, either one. And I might have a completely new front office, a new coaching staff a year from now. Why would I do that? I'm lathered up to make a run in my own head. Now, whether that's delusional or not, that doesn't really change the way they're viewing this. How we look at it doesn't change what they think about themselves.
Right.
So Christian Gonzalez is the best player for this year. And somebody will say Jalen Carter. Okay, he got in trouble in Athens, Georgia. Yeah, you want to put him in Las Vegas?
Not going to do that.
I mean, and I like the kid. I've heard some things that make me really nervous.
With the track record that the Las Vegas Raiders have.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I get that wasn't this front office that did it. It doesn't matter. With that track record, you're not bringing in a kid who's already been in trouble. I wouldn't think. Again, this is an organization ran by New England Patriots guys.
Bingo.
So keep that in mind. If you want to try to make that leap, they're not going to do that. Number 8 belongs to the Atlanta Falcons.
And now this gets into a long-hailed belief of mine. If there is a player with red flags, if there is one team that is willing to take the risk, it is the team that is geographically closest to them because they have the best intel. Georgia does local workouts with Atlanta. That's how that works because they're in the geographic region. I fully believe that Jalen Carter is not as immature of a kid as he is played out to be. It's just a lot of little things that have hit the media, and it's making it look worse than it is. And Atlanta probably will know that better than anybody because they'll be in the building getting the best information humanly possible, which is why at 8 I have them taking Jalen Carter.
You can't deny the talent on the kid. He likes to drive really fast, apparently.
Well, I mean, and here's the thing. It ended – he had an event that ended really badly. We have absolutely no proof that he was the impetus of that. He was just there.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of 21-year-old kids that drive cars really, really fast.
Yep.
There are other things I've heard that I've never been able to substantiate, which is why I don't say them on this show. There are some maturity issues. Atlanta does a phenomenal job of making sure guys are put in the best situation to succeed, especially when they have immaturity, things like this. Arthur Blank does not spare any expense in making sure that you are given the opportunities to not make mistakes. That's why there are certain teams in the league that if you make mistakes with them, I judge you harder on that. The Falcons are one of those. The Dallas Cowboys have always been or have been one of those since Stephen Jones took over. I think Jalen Carter to the Atlanta Falcons is an absolute home run, and I can't unsee it. Because I think it's a huge need for them.
It would make a lot of sense. Give them a dynamic player down front. I get that. I also fall back on, though, because they're the closest, maybe they know more skeletons than we do. And so they wouldn't go down that path. Who knows?
I have been told that Jalen Carter's floor is the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay. Number 9, the Chicago Bears.
I would not have picked this player a week ago, and now there's a lot of momentum because he's really scheme flexible. He had a workout that he looked honestly, you could have convinced me he was 70 pounds lighter than he was.
Okay.
It's Paris Johnson Jr., the tackle guard, whatever you want to call him, at Ohio State. I think ultimately he ends up playing guard. Or he starts playing guard and ultimately ends up playing tackle, excuse me. And protecting Justin Fields, having somebody that is that unbelievably athletic. I watched his workout and was dumbfounded how good this kid's feet were. I mean, I saw it on tape, but there wasn't always a great pass rush. Yeah, I know Michigan didn't quite go his way. I got that. All right, I've watched that tape a bunch of times too. But I do, at this point, I think he's the safest offensive lineman in the draft. I like Skoronski better, but he may have to play guard in the NFL. Paris Johnson could be a tackle off the jump, and that wouldn't shock me in the least.
This is the Sportsocracy, and you are listening on ESPN Asheville, 92.9 FM, 880 AM, and 1400, and, of course, everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Mock Draft Monday. We got Jeremy's Bangers of the Night in the NBA coming up next, and then after the top of the hour Sports Center update, we will resume the mock draft, the pre-Lamar Jackson mock draft.
The Lamar Made Noise mock draft.
Yeah.
Version 76 and a half.
We'll pick it up with number 10 with the Philadelphia Eagles after the Sports Center update.
He's a degenerate gambler.
You are a smelly pirate hooker.
And he's cheaper than oxygen.
He's useless.
But somehow, they make it work. Jeremy Greene, Tank Spencer. There's no holding back in the Sportsocracy. Presented by Ingles Supermarkets and Fred Anderson Nissan of Asheville.
It is the Sportsocracy, and this is hour 2 of the Monday edition, a mock draft Monday edition of the program.
There you go. You don't bury the lead. It's a mock draft Monday.
Draftmas season continues hot and heavy here in the Sportsocracy, and with all of the news today about Lamar Jackson demanding a trade from the Baltimore Ravens, figured why not? I mean, it's a mock draft Monday. You got to do the what if mock draft if Lamar Jackson gets traded. How does that affect things? And, well, we saw it at the top of the draft.
And here's the question. If we didn't do this, we would be breaking down the effect of the 1-2-1-1 press on Creighton. Yeah, I'll pass. I mean, I can do that. I don't really want to, and I don't think any of you want me to.
No, we don't. Because I think what basketball you did watch this weekend, if you watched any of it, you probably had enough for a while.
Yep, and don't worry, we'll get to that later because I've got some yelling to do.
It is the Sportsocracy, 92.9 FM, 880 AM, and 1400. We're heard in the Ingalls studio, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app, and we're also seen everywhere on YouTube. Just go to thesportsocracy.com, click that live video link, subscribe to the channel, and join us in the chat, and you can get your reactions into today's Mock Draft Monday. Yes, we had Baltimore making a trade with the Tennessee Titans. Lamar Jackson goes to Tennessee. Baltimore gets the 11th pick in the draft. And then they trade their 2 first-round draft picks that they would have after that trade to get up to 3 with the Arizona Cardinals and take Anthony Richardson. So you had 4 quarterbacks come off in the top 4. C.J. Stroud to the Carolina Panthers, Bryce Young to the Houston Texans, Anthony Richardson to the Baltimore Ravens, and the Indianapolis Colts get Will Levis. We've worked our way down to the number 10 pick with the Philadelphia Eagles.
And yes, they have a pick right here, and this won't be the last time that you hear from them. I keep coming back to this pick. With bringing back Bradbury, bringing back Darius Slay, I don't think you need to go corner. It's kind of a hat on a hat. And when you have a pick like this that you got for – that's a trade I look back on and go, I bet New Orleans would unwind that if they had the ability. It's where you take a swing. And there is a player on the board that I think is a swing and could end up being the best pass rusher in this class. And his name is Lucas Van Ness. But he didn't even start at Iowa. I don't care. Watch the film. Every time I see him on tape, I go, he's going to end up with the Philadelphia Eagles. He reminds me of a much more physically gifted version of George Karlaftis.
Okay.
That went to Kansas City last year.
Yep.
Because his just raw ability to win rushing the passer is unlike – I haven't seen many that can do this. Oh, and by the way, he can slide in and play on the inside too. He is as scheme versatile as I've ever seen. I love this kid, and every person I talk to swears to me he's going to go higher than even I think. I mean, I've had people tell me that he could end up going 8 to Atlanta.
Wow.
But didn't play a ton of snaps. That's really the only drawback you can give me, is that in his entire college career he played 920 snaps. And so you're telling me that there's a real good tread left on the tires, and he's already this good of a pass rusher with that few snaps. Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it would be, do I not want an edge rusher in the top 10, especially with a little more experience down in and down out?
I don't care. I would have taken Will Anderson as a freshman in the top 10. And guess what? I would have been right.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the same way about Lucas Van Ness.
Okay.
What I have seen of him is enough for me to go, yep. Especially in a class like this where there's no real uniformity. I'm in. But if you're an Eagles fan, have no fear. You're not done, and you're not going to have to wait as long as you think.
The Arizona Cardinals would have the 11th pick after the trade with the Baltimore Ravens. This is the Tennessee pick.
This is another team that, ironically enough, this name has played for that team. It's just not the team that everybody associates that name with. Joey Porter Jr. They drop down to 11, get 2 extra first-round picks, and still get Joey Porter Jr. That's about as big of a win as I believe you will ever see in your life.
Absolutely.
I mean, I love this kid. He is just a bulldog. He's a number 1 corner in this league, and if you're telling me you went from Byron Murphy to Joey Porter Jr., even as a rookie, you came out better. You're in better shape now than you were. And I have seen what Jonathan Gannon can do with a big physical corner like this because he did it with James Bradbury. If you remember, I had Bradbury going to Arizona because that role is so important in that defense. Joey Porter's just a rookie version of it.
Okay. Number 12. That's the Houston Texans' second pick. This from the Deshaun Watson trade.
I genuinely think I'm just going to keep doing this to manifest it into the world because I'm pretty sure this is who I've had going at 12 in every mock draft I've done.
Mm-hmm.
It's Quentin Johnston.
Because it's the pick that makes the most sense in the world.
Because nothing else makes sense.
No.
Nothing makes sense.
If you're going to draft a quarterback, you got to give him somebody to throw to.
Well, and it would really help if you're giving him somebody that's not a hat on a hat. And, yeah, you could take in Jigba. He's a slot guy to me, and I feel like you already have two of those. Quentin Johnston's a legit. I mean, I've compared him to Julio Jones time after time after time after time. Do you have some drops? Sure. I could say that exact same thing about a slew of receivers that have come into this draft. I over the years. I think his high side is Julio Jones. I think his floor is A.J. Greene. A faster version of A.J. Greene.
That's a pretty impressive floor.
That's a nice comp, and I hate comps with every fiber of my being.
Okay. All right, at number 13.
Now we get to that pick that everybody's wanted to talk about. Will the Jets come off number 13? No, they won't. But I think I've come up with a solution that we can all be hunky-dunky with.
Okay.
Green Bay wants 13. They ain't getting 13. Unless they give you 15 back. So I have the Jets trading 13 with number 42, the pick they got from Cleveland for Elijah Moore.
Okay.
They get back 15 from Green Bay, and they get Aaron Rodgers. And that's what I think this deal is ultimately going to end up looking like. The Jets are not outright coming off that pick. They're not doing it. You can believe me or not. If anybody tells you that, and you should heed what I'm saying, it's probably me.
So this way, Green Bay still gets their 2-2s, but they get to move up 2 spots.
Correct. They get in front of the Jets. I think they want somebody that is I think they want somebody they're afraid the Jets are going to take. It's the only thing that makes any sense, that they're so beholden to this pick because they know they're not going to get it. I mean, just outright, the Jets have said, we are going to pick in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
So you can piddle in one hand and want in the other and tell me which one fills up faster, but you're leveraged here too. So this is a deal that I think works for both. Zion, I can't keep saying this. You have an asset with no buyers. All right, there's one buyer. One. It's $58 million dead cap hit for you to sit him on the bench. They have as much leverage as you do. This is as good as it's going to get. You can take it or not. Now, there is a conditional pick in that as well, but that goes all the way to 2025, and that's not really worth talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That would go to, if Aaron's on the roster, it's a 3. If you go to the Super Bowl, then, yeah, you get your 1 3 years from now. Congratulations.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's the best it's going to be.
Okay. Zion was saying in the chat that, yes, he believes that the Jets will have to come off of that 13th pick.
Yep. I believe that when they traded Brett Favre, too. That didn't work. Yeah, you don't have any buyers. So, I mean, it irks me to no end. The Jets are stuck. No, they're not. Now you got Lamar Jackson out here, too. That's legitimately in play.
And you had Rob Salah today at the owners' meetings in Phoenix. He took the podium. He was talking to the media, and he said, we're good.
Yeah, Zion said, we can wait until September 1st. Yeah. Robert Saleh said the verbatim same thing today.
He said, we'll wait. We're in no rush to do anything right now. They will get the deal done, and whatever it is, and we're in no hurry.
Yep.
Because we have the offensive coordinator that we know Aaron knows the system.
I want you to keep saying this out loud. 25-year-old Lamar Jackson is going to get 2 first-round picks because of what you have to pay him. You think 39-year-old Aaron Rodgers is getting more than a pick swap in the first round and a second-round pick. Good luck with that.
So the 13th pick, the Green Bay Packers will select.
This is one of my favorite pairings of a player with a team, just because I feel like he is part of what Green Bay was missing. It's Brian Branch, the safety out of Alabama.
And that makes sense what you said, that they want a player that the Jets would target, because that has made a lot of sense as well, the New York Jets taking Brian Branch.
I honestly think that's one of the impediments here, is that there's somebody they adamantly want, and they think either the Jets or the Patriots are going to take him. It could be Nolan Smith. I've heard that one a few times. I'm just reading tea leaves because I know who the Jets are vaguely interested in. And I don't think Green Bay's taking an offensive lineman in the top 15, but I could be wrong. And they could be just drunk in love on Peter Skoronski. His grandfather did play there, so I mean, I guess it could be him. I just don't think so. I don't think so. And, I mean, I hear a lot of why would they not take a receiver? How many young receivers you want with basically a rookie quarterback? I'm good on that. If they do that, great. You also have never done it in the history or in this era of your franchise, so I kind of struggle to believe you're going to do it now. They don't value receivers that way.
Yeah. Probably should with Jordan.
Again,
Probably should with Jordan Love. I mean, you didn't want to do it with Aaron Rodgers because you could make anybody work. You kind of have to do it, in my opinion, with Jordan Love because you don't know that he makes anybody work.
And DNA Tooth Podcast showed why we love him. He said, just kidding, as long as we walk away with some type of leverage, I'll be fine. It's not like we're a good drafting team in the first round. I love self-deprecation. That always plays well here.
Number 14, that pick belongs to the New England Patriots.
And New England, brace yourselves. This is not Jackson Smith and Jigba, who I think it has been in every mock I've done.
Yes.
It's not this time. I sometimes fall into I like the fit of a player too much with a team, and then I can't get away from it.
Mm-hmm.
If this draft went this way, I don't think there is a way on earth that Bill wouldn't take a player that I guarantee you he has in his top 8. It's Peter Skoronski, the offensive tackle from Northwestern. Oh, but he's too short. Yeah, and Bill just got burned by 2 behemoths that he was playing at tackle. And you know what he quickly learned? Those guys aren't real good in pass pro. I've said the entire time I think Skoronski's a tackle. I got burned on Rashawn Slater. I'm not getting burned on the guy that replaced him.
Right. Very athletic for a left tackle or a right tackle, whichever. Where do you see him playing?
Initially, probably on the right to start, and within a year he's playing on the left.
Okay.
Then again, I said the exact same thing about Rashawn Slater, and he was the left tackle 5 seconds after he got there.
All right, that brings us to the number 15 pick, and the New York Jets making the trade with the Green Bay Packers to move back 2 slots. Who will you select?
Well, and I have to say, this is not what I would do. This is what I think they would do. It's Broderick Jones, offensive tackle out of Georgia.
Mm-hmm. A lot of noise that he had been sliding down boards.
And I'm still not sure that he hasn't. It just seems a lot of the people that tell me that are starting to creep him back up. Look, I don't think that's their biggest need. I'll be honest with you. The kid out of Northwestern, Adebawore, that could easily be the pick right there. It wouldn't shock me in the least. But that's too high. No, it's not. No, it's not. After his workout at the Combine, he has screamed up boards. And that's what Joe Douglas does. If the tie goes to the big guy, and it's either an offensive lineman, defensive lineman, that's not what I would do. But that's what I think the Jets would do if they managed to pull off that trade.
What would you do?
Honestly, I'm not sure I wouldn't take Nolan Smith. I could never have enough edge guys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Carl Lawson is long for New York. I think he probably gets another year. But the thought of Jermaine Johnson and Nolan Smith on the edges is just and he could even play linebacker. He's a very multi-talented piece. And yeah, we need to move on, because the more I think about Nolan Smith playing for the Jets, the happier it makes me, because he's a freak of nature.
Mm-hmm.
And don't worry, he ain't gonna last real long either.
You are in the Sportsocracy. This is ESPN Asheville, and it is a mock draft Monday. Will Lamar Jackson get moved? Well, he's demanding the trade, so that's why we're doing the mock draft today, because it changed things quite a bit. We'll continue with the pre-Lamar Jackson trade mock draft coming up here in just a moment on ESPN Asheville.
The Sportsocracy.
Why are you smiling? Because I love football.
And welcome back into the Sportsocracy on a mock draft Monday. The pre-Lamar what?
Mock draft Monday.
You know I can't do that. It hurts my vocal cords.
Well, I mean, I screamed at Creighton so aggressively that I sound like boo-boo.
The pre-Lamar Jackson trade mock draft here in the Sportsocracy. We have we've worked our way down to number 16.
This is the easiest pick of the entire first round. Kevin, the PRF, who is a Commanders fan, asked if they would consider Bijan Robinson to keep him away from Philadelphia. I'm going to say no. more because that front office has a reputation for absolutely not valuing running backs. And I don't think you can take a player to keep him away from somebody else.
I was going to say, you already have 2 running backs, and the NFL is not really that, hey, let's do this to keep him away from other teams' league.
Yeah, that's more of an NBA thing, which does happen in the NBA, sadly enough. So for me at 16, it's really easy. It's Devin Witherspoon. Well, look, one of these corners is going to fall. I've been told it will be Witherspoon. I'm not 100% sure I understand why, but if he's on the board, I would sprint to the podium and go, hey, there's my new number 1.
Well, he's what, your number 2 in this class?
He is my 2, yes. I have him slightly ahead of Joey Porter Jr. Solely because he can do Porter is one of those that, to me, fits in a very specific scheme, and it's exactly what he's going to get with the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, if he was there for Washington, I'm sure they wouldn't go, no, let's not do that. But he's a better fit with Arizona, and I think Devin Witherspoon's a better fit with Washington.
All right, and number 17.
We have a trade.
The Pittsburgh Steelers have this pick.
Not
but
anymore. Now it goes to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay, so Philadelphia uses what to get back
they
up?
They go from 30. They use their pick in the second, or their pick at the end of the first round, and 62. They're picking the second round to get up to 17 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll give you one guess who this is.
Bijan.
That's exactly who it is.
Bijan Robinson.
And Philadelphia fans should rejoice. And before you tell me, because trust me, Eagles fans love telling me this, Howie doesn't value running backs like that. Okay, here's my response to that. Howie's never had a shot at a running back like that. Because this is the Saquon Barkley. I mean, he's seen how well that works with a quarterback like Daniel Jones. I get 4 years of him plus the option here. Do I love taking running backs in the first round? No. But this is a different draft. This is a different class, and that is a different dude. You think that offense was dynamic before? I like Miles Sanders. He's not Bijan Robinson. And you think you were tough to stop before? Good luck. Because now I have the best offensive line in the league, a gigantic quarterback, and I would argue one of the 5 best running backs in the league the minute he steps foot in the NFL.
Yeah.
That's how good Bijan actually is. You didn't always see it at Texas because there wasn't a ton of talent around him.
And hopefully the talent is so much that he won't end up on the head coach's poo list like Miles Sanders did for some reason.
Well, Miles Sanders had some issues that he couldn't necessarily work through, and so it's Bijan's a 3-down back. And it's just who he is. This is they were interested in Dalvin Cook when he was available. He is now not available from what I'm told. And to me, this would just be a home run. This takes that trade from New Orleans, multiplies it to the umpteenth degree. And I know you lost a lot on defense. I've watched Philadelphia just churn out defensive players over the years. So I think they'll be just fine. And Bijan just adds a complete new element to your offense. Oops.
At number 18, it's the Detroit Lions for their second pick of the first round.
Detroit was harder for me right here because there were several players I liked, and I didn't know exactly which one I wanted to go with. And then the more I thought about it, it was, okay, in that defense, I need a player that plays on the line, not standing up, not any of those things that can get pressure on a quarterback. Adetoma Adeborie, edge out of Northwestern. So now you have Adeborie, Aiden Hutchinson, Tyree Wilson, James Houston. Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I can't tell you it'll be great day one. It's going to be really good, really fast.
Right. And eventually when it matures, it will definitely be good.
There are a lot of people that keep making the comparison of Kalijah Cansey to Aaron Donald. I think this gets closer.
Really?
Well, it's lazy with Cansey because he went to Pittsburgh. Dimensionally, they're the same. And he has some tape that would lend itself to that. This kid did this at Northwestern all by his lonesome. Then he went to the combine and proved, I am not of this world. And you hear some things when you talk in these circles, and everything I hear about him makes me think Dan Campbell's going to get him in a room, which he already did, and is going to fall in love with him because he took a private visit to the Lions. They're not taking him at 6, so
Right.
18 makes plenty of sense.
Okay.
That may seem a little high to some people, but I'm told right now his floor is up like 25.
All right, the edge rusher out of Northwestern. Go ahead and say it again.
Atatoma Adeboriye.
Yep, that guy. Going to the Detroit Lions at number 18. Number 19.
Go ahead and do it. It's your team. I'll let you.
It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Really?
Yeah, no.
Really? No.
I get
Fire them cannons, by golly.
Look,
Put more powder
we
than
got
things.
Baker Mayfield as the starting quarterback. We're not going to be firing many cannons.
No, you're going to be firing head coaches.
Yes, I can't wait for that.
But I can give you something that will make you happy.
Okay.
I often say you don't have much what?
Talent.
Yeah, I walked into that.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're on this, there's no talent left on this team, Keck.
No, it's you have talent in positions that just don't matter.
Right.
You've got receivers and no quarterback. And your offensive line is pretty brutal.
Yeah.
But there's not an offensive lineman to take here. No, where I was headed with that is you don't have the pass rush that you think you do. And there's a player that makes just a boatload of sense.
I can't wait to hear it.
It's Nolan Smith.
Love
It's
it.
Nolan Smith.
I love it.
He's the kind of malleable piece that and look, I rail on Todd Bowles because I don't think he's a very good coach.
Mm-hmm.
He is the kind of piece that I could see Todd being able to use because he likes guys that can do multiple things.
Mm-hmm. And Nolan can do a little bit of everything.
Yes.
He can do the Devin White role. He can do we've talked about this before, the Levante David role in coverage as a linebacker. He can do the rush the passer thing like Shaq Barrett can. Him ending up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers obviously would make this Bulldogs fan very, very happy.
Well, the funny thing is that your second pick is also a Bulldog.
I like that too.
Yeah.
I
didn't do that on purpose either.
So number 19, Nolan Smith, the edge rusher out of Georgia, going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I like it. Take a quick break. When we come back from the break, we will we'll get weird, and then we'll continue with number 20 in today's pre-Lamar Jackson trade mock draft here on a Mock Draft Monday in the Sportsocracy, 92.9 FM, 880 AM, and 1400. It is ESPN Asheville, heard everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. After all of the trades, because, well, if you're just joining us, Baltimore traded with Tennessee. Lamar goes to Tennessee. Baltimore gets the 11th pick. They trade 11 and 22, which they already own, up to 3 to get the Arizona Cardinals pick and draft Anthony Richardson, who will replace Lamar Jackson. All makes sense, right? Number 20 in the first round of the 2023 NFL Draft belongs to the Seattle Seahawks.
And we have several Seahawks fans in the chat, Divine, Eric Miller, and I'm not going to lie. I don't really know how you're going to feel about this. Divine has already said, take Kalijah Kancey. A, too high. B, you take a defensive tackle with your first pick in the second round. You'll have to stick around until Thursday when the team-by-team mocks come out to figure out which one that is. I have a feeling you'll like it. But there is a player here that I think fits what they do really, really well.
Okay.
It's Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Okay. So he's
I've got a really good running team.
Right.
Really good running the ball. Now I have a third weapon.
Now
you try to do this with Dwayne Eskridge, and I'm not the biggest fan of Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's better than that.
Yeah, so JSN is now the slot receiver for the Seattle Seahawks. Or would you put him on the outside?
I'd put him, he's a slot guy in the NFL.
Okay.
So I've got DK and Lockett on the outside.
Okay.
And Jigba in the slot, and now I'm pretty mean throwing the ball.
Sure.
I'm pretty mean throwing the ball.
Geno Smith was very efficient throwing the ball last year. Hopefully, you add another weapon like that, there would be no reason that Geno couldn't put up similar numbers next year.
Exactly. I mean, you had 2 receivers last year, and Geno was that good. What do you think he's going to do with 3? And the receiver, I'm not going to say it dries up because it doesn't, but if you wait to get that guy, even to that first pick in the second round, the drop-off is significant.
Mm-hmm.
So here, I use the fact that I pulled off the greatest trade heist in the history of the NFL with the Denver Broncos I now got a phenomenal pass rusher and another weapon for Geno Smith.
The 21st pick is the Los Angeles Chargers.
I can't stop doing this. Since Dalton Schultz didn't sign with them, and we know how Kellen Moore feels about tight ends,
Yep.
it's Michael Mayer, tight end out of Notre Dame. Yes, there are several tight ends in this draft. There's only one that really blocks particularly well. But he didn't run that fast. I don't even kind of care. I don't care. Watch the film. I think Mayer comes in as immediately a top 10 tight end or top 8 tight end in this league. And with how much Kellen Moore uses that, I can't get away from doing that. I feel like he helps you on the right side no matter what you do. If it's Sawyer in at guard or right tackle, which is where I would put him, it gives you somebody that can block down. Now I know not only do I have an extra weapon for Justin Herbert, I have another guy that can help me in the blocking game. I genuinely think Michael Mayer can be George Kittle light.
Okay.
Just saying a lot because he's bigger than him, but I love Mayer, and I think this is a perfect fit for him.
Number 22.
The Arizona Cardinals. You remember when I said Arizona trades down and then has one of the greatest draft classes you'll ever see in your life?
Yep.
They've needed offensive line help for what feels like about 500 years.
Mm-hmm.
With no Kyler Murray, you better be able to run the ball. You're going to struggle to do that because, well, you're counting on James Conner, and there's not a whole lot I can do about that. But I can give you a mauler guard, and his name is Osiris Torrance.
Kid out of Florida. Jeremy is really in love with this kid.
Top 10 player on my board. If I'm Arizona, I'm taking the best player available every time I come up. And when the 3-round mock draft Tank has already seen this, so he can attest, they did really, really well.
It's pretty spiffy.
They did really, really, really well.
If there is an Arizona Cardinals fan within the sound of our voice, you'd be very happy.
You're going to be very happy on Thursday when that drops.
Yes. At number 23.
The Minnesota Vikings. What does this team need? Biggest need on the team is what? For me, it's not even close.
What?
Wide receiver.
Okay.
I've got to have somebody that's not KJ Osborne to take a little bit of attention off Justin Jefferson.
But KJ looks so good late in the season.
And that's fine. He's a slot guy, and he's the definition of fine. He's fine. I have the ability to take an outside receiver that will terrify you because he can get over the top, and you'll never be able to double Justin Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
Zay Flowers, Boston College. I told you this when we did the top 13 receivers. It would blow your mind how often he played on the outside because people look at how small he is and they think he has to play in the slot. He doesn't. He can, but he doesn't have to. I love this kid. I've loved this kid since the first time I laid eyes on tape of him, and now that's my favorite landing spot for him is with Minnesota because I think that makes that offense formidable enough to compete with Detroit. I think you're better than Chicago, and I think you're better than Green Bay with no Aaron Rodgers.
And if Kevin O'Connell is going to do anything with this team, offensively speaking, he's got to replace the weapons that, well, he's got to replace Adam Thielen.
Well, I mean, going from Adam Thielen to Zay Flowers is an immediate improvement.
Yeah,
period.
Absolutely.
I mean, Adam Thielen is a great player in the history of your franchise. He's not that guy anymore.
Mm-hmm.
This is somebody that can win one-on-one, can take pressure off Justin Jefferson, and makes your offense better immediately. I mean, yes, I would love to have a corner. I think you can get one of those later. I know they don't have a second-round pick because of the deal with T.J. Hawkinson, but I think you can get one of those later because there's a good number of corners that will come off mid-round 2 to end of day 2, round 3, and I'm not going to get the chance to add another receiver like this later on.
Yep. So that brings us to number 24. The Jacksonville Jaguars.
By the way, can we get some uniformity on pick numbers? Like, does Miami's pick count or no?
No,
because
it
it's
doesn't.
confusing the boo-boo kitty out of me.
It is not. We skip we skip Miami completely. There are only 31 picks in the first round.
There are 31 picks in the first round, but Miami's pick still counts because you skip it. I'm just telling you what the official NFL draft order says.
Oh, okay.
Every mock draft simulator does it wrong. So I go back through going, did I get the pick numbers? No. Oh, no, it's that stupid pick. It's that stupid Dolphins pick. Anyway.
Next up in the first round, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jacksonville is one of the weirdest teams in the league to me because I don't feel like you have just a huge need. I have heard, and I've said this on the show before, I've heard they really like Jordan Addison.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I can't do it. It doesn't make any sense. You're already paying Zay Jones. You're already paying Christian Kirk, and you got Calvin Ridley coming in here. I cannot give you a fourth receiver in good conscience. Now, if Michael Mayer was here, I could think about a tight end maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you paid Ingram. Oh, well, you franchise tagged Ingram, but he couldn't block me. So I could do that, but I'm not going to. He's not here. So there is one corner left that to me is worthy of being picked right here, and it doesn't necessarily fit exactly what I've been told they want, which is another version of Tyson Campbell.
Right.
You can't take Keely Ringo this high. It's too high, and he's the only one that really does that.
Agreed.
So I'm going to add one that's just freakishly athletic. Deonte Banks out of Maryland. That kid is ridiculously fast. Nobody in this league will outrun him. Now, does he have some things to round off in coverage? Yes, I had him as an early second rounder before he ran so fast at the combine. He's been bumped up a little bit. I think he's a little better than Emmanuel Forbes, but he would be an immediate starter as your second corner and allow you to slide Darius Williams into the slot, which you need to because he's about 5'9".
All right. The New York Giants next on the clock.
I have a feeling Brian Haynes will like this a lot. You need a weapon of some kind. I get that you brought back Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard and, okay, Richie James and Isaiah Hodgins, and it looks like an expansion group of receivers. You need one guy that's a legit dog.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Addison, USC.
Okay.
I really am intrigued by what Brian Daboll could do with him in that system. Because he's so fast, and he tracks the ball so well.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, because none of the guys that the Giants have right now is a burner. I mean, I'm not saying any of them are slow necessarily. It's just Richie James, yeah, but he's also that big, and he doesn't track deep balls well. So I need somebody that can take the top off of defense, because the way I'm going to win games is by running the ball with Saquon Barkley, hitting a few shots with Daniel Jones over the course of the game, playing good defense. I can draft defensive players as we go along, and I do, because this is the last offensive player I take for the Giants in 3 rounds. I need that one piece that really will scare a safety, get that safety out of the box, and let me pound away with Saquon Barkley, because you don't have that right now. And adding that piece with Darren Waller, now I've got 2 of them that are that are real headaches in terms of as a mismatch.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the next layer of that offense to me.
Plus, you throw in Wan'Dale Robinson coming back from injury. You got a lot of pieces that Brian Daboll could just have a lot of schematic fun with.
You got a lot of pieces. There's just not a deep ball threat. And for you to do exactly what it is you want to do, somebody's got to beat you deep. And Jordan Addison does that better than anybody in this class.
You are in the Sportsocracy. This is ESPN Asheville. We will continue the pre-Lamar Jackson trade mock draft next.
Break the news. Who's gonna break the news? Who's gonna break the news?
Welcome back into the Sportsocracy here on ESPN Asheville. Breaking news out of Chapel Hill. Caleb Love is saying goodbye. He will not be returning to the North Carolina Tar Heels, issuing a statement on social media today saying that his time at UNC has been rewarding and has inspired him to grow on and off the court. He's extremely thankful, blah, 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 blah. Will not be back. We're deciding what to do with my future, whether that be transfer somewhere else or go pro.
It's fine. R.J. Davis and Bike, I'll be back. That's fine.
Absolutely. Best of luck to you, Caleb. We'll see you
Enjoy
around the bend, sir. Yeah, it's time to resume the pre-Lamar Jackson trade mock draft here on a Mock Draft Monday in the Sportsocracy on ESPN Asheville. And we continue here with the number 26 pick belonging to the Dallas Cowboys.
Dalton Kincaid, tight end out of Utah. This is as good of a tight end draft as you will ever see. And I know Mike McCarthy is not necessarily heavy on this. And there are other players that I think they could take. Since Stephen Jones has been running these drafts, he does have a propensity to just sit there and take the best player on the board. especially one that could be a need, and that is certainly a need. Because Jake Ferguson is not really it's not putting fear in the hearts of many defenses. And, I mean, I love what the Cowboys have done, and that's another piece, and that makes that offense really scary. They had a running back later on, too, in the 3-round mock draft that I'm sure Cowboy fans will like a lot.
Number 27 belongs to the Buffalo Bills.
I can't let this pass because there's so few of these guys. It's Drew Sanders, linebacker out of Arkansas.
Okay.
Yeah, you need a corner. You have several young corners. If you're going to do that, I want you to pursue one that's older. I need a vet corner, not another young guy. I've already seen it with Kyrie Elam, the Christian Benmore, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember his name's completely out of my head right now. You've already got a handful of those guys. I don't really want to add another young one to it. There's not a lineman worth taking right there. They do get one of those later in the draft, though.
Number 28, Cincinnati Bengals.
One Nation Underground said, if this is Dalton Kincaid, I'm going to be very sad. Well, it's not Dalton Kincaid, but it is a player that plays the same position.
Another tight end.
Sam Laporta, tight end out of Iowa.
Where he's come out of nowhere.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because people watch him. A, Iowa is tight end you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
B, the more they watch his tape, the more they go, he might be the second best tight end in this class. And he's a physical freak of nature. Oh, yeah, and he can block. And he can actually legitimately block. He's going in the first round. I'll put it this way. Last year when I had Trayvon Walker going at 1, the guy that told me that just told me if I had to bet on a player that nobody's talking about going in the first round, that will, it's Sam Laporta.
Sam Laporta.
And they won't be shocked if he goes ahead of Kincaid and Musgrave.
Number 29, New Orleans pick.
New Orleans, you get exactly the guy you've been screaming for in the chat. It's Kalijah Cansey, defensive tackle out of Pittsburgh.
Aaron Donald Light.
I don't see that. I think he's a good player. He does have size limitations, but I think he can come in and rush the passer immediately with what you already have in New Orleans. I think he's one that would be a plug-and-play starter. I like him better than either of the defensive tackles you've already added, and he gives you a pop as a pass rusher that those two don't.
Number 30, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Nope. Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, that's right.
From the trade. The Bijan Robinson deal.
Yes.
And the reason that Pittsburgh would be willing to do that is because right here they take Anton Harrison, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma. I can't bring myself to take him at 17. Do they need that? Yes, because you don't have a left tackle. And he's the one left that can come in and play right away. I think that's enough to solidify the offense. Now you'll be able to run the ball. You're giving Kenny Pickett the best chance to succeed. And you got an extra second-round pick for doing it. That second-round pick could be next year, too, by the way. Bob Brown pointed that out in the comments. Mm-hmm. Pittsburgh's flush with day 2 picks, so they could push that down a year.
All right, lastly, here in the first round, number 31 goes to the Kansas City Chiefs.
You want me to just make you angry? DeJuan Jones, tackle out of Ohio State. Yeah, see, when you're Kansas City and you don't really have pressing needs, you can just sit at whatever your pick is and take the best player on the board. That's how great teams stay great. I love this kid. I just don't see many teams that are going to jump over themselves to take a right tackle that early. Kansas City will happily let him fall in their lap.
All right, that is the first round of the pre-Lamar Jackson trade mock draft. We will have individual team 3-round mock drafts coming out later on in the week, so be sure to follow us on YouTube. Go to thesportsocracy.com, click the live video link, subscribe to the channel. You'll always get those alerts.